Hi everyone. This presentation is on religious ethics, a guideline for business decisions. I, Alexandria Light, will be in favor of the topic, and Tatiana Rodriguez will be proposing the counter argument.
In this presentation, we will explore the background of religious ethics in business, identify what exactly that means, provide specific examples in today's market, acknowledge possible oppositions, and personally reflect on the topic.
Now we're going to dive into the background of religious ethics and how they are useful guidelines for business decisions. So Mele and Fontrodona found that Christian ethics were being used in economics and business as early as the 13th century. Now, Christian faith and other religions in general were seen to encourage virtue and are a foundation of standards and principles that cover the ethical criteria for business. A study suggested that many business students leave school with technical qualifications but lack ethical principles that effective business leaders should gain from spiritual insight.
The golden rule known in business ethics, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, stemmed from the Bible verses from the books of Luke and Matthew. Also, the concept of human dignity adopted by ethical scholars has Christian roots, given that in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it states that the human being, both male and female, were created in the image of God.
Continuing off of what Tatiana has just shared, biblical principles that are relevant in the world of business include stewardship as well as servant leadership. This was promoted through the ages from Jesus' followers and was recognized as a theory of leadership by Robert Greenleaf in 1970.
Both definitions of business and religious ethics generally encompass the understanding between right and wrong. Various religions have overlapping values, as discussed in the Steiner and Steiner text.
Religious ethics have value in relation to business because we should do our work with good intentions of helping others with our goods or services while enhancing our skills, according to Fraser. Fraser also goes on to say that the use of our material wealth should be influenced by God, and if we lose sight of attaining wealth out of greed for our individual purposes, then it is not God's will, and therefore our business ethics are faulted, because there's no longer any religious values of moral righteousness involved. Continuing on with how religious ethics are positive and valued sources for making business decisions, Himes talks about ethical consumerism, how we shouldn't feel guilty for buying products or putting our money into the economy, because that's natural. However, when we are not thinking of ourselves as being good stewards of God's gifts, our consumerism can harm others, such as workers who we see as being exploited when we are unaware of where we are getting our products from, if it is the only thought of me, me, me. Also, practical compassion is a religious value that is founded by religious beliefs to take with us into the real world of work, home, and our communities. This idea of working for a company that practiced practical compassion would not be exploiting workers overseas because it's simply more cost effective.
Many corporations in today's world were founded on religious teachings or have adopted religious ethics into their businesses. There are many more, but these are the most well known within the US. Some of these businesses are very outspoken about their religiosity, while others simply use it as a humble basis for their business practices.
Tatiana pointed out that many corporations today use religious ethics in their business practices. In-N-Out is one great example of what it means to be a faith-based company. Lindsay Snyder is the CEO of the company and the last surviving member of the family-owned business. She also has a 99% approval rating on Glassdoor, with the average employee staying at In-N-Out for 17 years. Founders Harry and Esther Snyder founded the company in 1948 and incorporated the biblical principles of trust, care, coaching, and excellence that Lindsay continues to incorporate. According to an article by Klett, Snyder is also a proponent of servant leadership, a principle she's been pushing for years now. And if you remember back to the background slide, how we talked about how faith-based ethics of servant leadership is connected to current business ethical practices today, well, this is another example. In-N-Out cares about maintaining a family environment, which is why they are very selective with locations they choose to set up. They want to focus on the quality of their food and take care of their employees, which is why Bob Lang, the vice president, said that Lindsay's goal is not for In-N-Out to be the biggest. In-N-Out also has strict standards such as dress code policies for their employees, cleanliness, and customer service etiquette. Snyder says she is not compromising the quality of product, service, or standards. And we can sure see this. Everything from the drinks, ketchup, lettuce, tomatoes, and meats are on a continual timer. The moment that timer is up, fresh replacements quickly replace what was already there. Lindsay said, I felt a deep call to make sure that I preserved those things that my family would want, that we didn't ever look to the left and the right to see what everyone else is doing, cut corners or change things drastically or compromise. I really wanted to make sure that we stayed true to what we started with. That required me to become a protector, a guardian. In-N-Out goes on to take care of their employees and gives them the tools to move up in the company. Starting rate right now for a level 1 employee is $16.25, which is well over minimum wage. And there are 7 levels. Every time you move up to a new level, you get a pay increase. The store managers at In-N-Out typically make an average of $163,000 a year, which is really unheard of for a fast food restaurant. You see a successful business like In-N-Out built on religious foundations and Christian values that everyone appreciates. Customers and employees are well taken care of.
Though Alexandria points out that big corporations such as In-N-Out and others use religious ethics to steer their businesses to success, some people may feel uncomfortable with their decisions. While there are many religious people who practice these ethics wholeheartedly, there are those who choose to look down upon and discriminate against non-believers or believers of a different faith. It can create quite an uncomfortable environment for applicants and employees seeking to remain neutral in their place of work. Another possible opposition to the benefit of religious ethics as useful guidelines for business decisions can be the lack of evidence. Studies have found little correlation between religiosity and business decisions. Each decision is dependent upon each individual and their own experiences and level of faith and practice. This can leave room for inconsistent decision making.
Regardless of opposition or agreement, we have concluded the following to be true. From the beginning of time, people have used religious ethics as moral ground rules of all they do. Even people who are not religious and do not want to be labeled as such make virtuous decisions based on the notion of right and wrong. Through the development of businesses, religious ethics have shown to provide guidelines and drivers for important decisions. Religious ethics teach us to be smart and patient with our success, and to trust that if we have good and pure intention, success will come. Businesses such as In-N-Out have interpreted these morals into workplace standards and models of service to their customers. And lastly, Fraser describes using love as the source for our workplace actions.
Religious ethics as useful guides for business decisions may work in some corporations, but not in all of them. They vary depending on the corporate culture and the religiosity of each employee. Some are open to these practices while others are not, and that is okay.
Having religious ethics is more than a label, it is a way we live. If we live by faith while practicing any form of business, then we will be doing upstanding work. The employees who work for In N Out, as well as the customers, are not all religious, but the values and procedures that In N Out upholds for excellent quality in customer service stems from religious ethics.
Religious ethics will always be useful guidelines for business decisions because it leads to favorably getting along with others, developing the ability to lead, and making righteous decisions when faced with unethical dilemmas. In summary, regardless of your faith or lack thereof, every individual from any walk of life can benefit from a business that stems from religious roots.
My personal takeaway is that faith in business is not doing the easy thing, it's doing what's right. Jesus says to love thy neighbor. In the workplace, we see this as being friendly, cooperative, empathetic, giving everyone a seat at the table, regardless of different cultures, differences, and opinions. I will continue to make ethical decisions, knowing that my religious values are impacting my virtues and that no one can take that away. Because it's not a label, it's a foundation.
Overall, I believe religious ethics in business decisions can be a useful tool when solving difficult ethical dilemmas in the workplace. Religious ethics help to point out the right and the wrong when interacting with one another. I agree to some degree that religious ethics do have a place in business decision making, but I acknowledge that they are not always welcomed. I respect others' religions and spiritual beliefs, whether they are the same as mine or not. I do not intend to push my religious beliefs on others within my place of work, but I will use them as a guide for myself when training others.